Now we should have all the speakers from this session here for the question and answer time. Okay, actually I'm completely dazzled here by the light, but so I'm sure there's going to be some questions in the room. There may also be some questions online, I believe. So let's see, any hands up right now? Yes, over there, please.
Hello, I have a question for Professor Qi's presentation on the Dunhuang Cave 464. One thing that really intrigued me is the discovery of the Pagba script inscription of the 6-syllable mantra. This is so interesting because the Pagba script, basically using the Tibetan alphabet to design a writing system for writing the Mongolian, is not something that is commonly seen, and especially among those caves in Dunhuang. So my question is very simple for you: is cave 464 the only cave so far, or only place so far that you've seen any Pagba script writing, or you are expecting this to be more commonly seen either in Dunhuang or even maybe in areas beyond Dunhuang?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your question. Very good and important question and problem. The cave 464 is not the only one to write the 6 mantra characters by Paspa and other languages. And we also have a stela found in Mughal grottos. I can't remember the cave number, but from one cave inside of the cave, we found a stela built in Yuan Dynasty, and we called it in Chinese 六字真言碑, means the letters and the words on the stela was written in 6 kind of languages, like Paspa and Tibetan, Chinese, Sanskrit, Uyghur. So it can be another evidence to prove that these letters from cave 464 were also built in Yuan Dynasty. And we also can find this kind of 6 mantra, scriptures mantra like that in Heshi Corridor, only in Heshi Corridor, because in other places we can find the 6 scriptures mantra were written in only one language, but not multiple language. So that's thank you for asking. Let me to add more evidence to my research. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question, please.
Thank you very much for your extraordinary presentations. I have a specific question. It's like how we have a lot of competitive researchers about the Persian text and the Chinese text about the medical, and I'm just wondering how could we make sure that this kind of similarity is from the individual development or is from the cultural exchange? What kind of evidence we can look for to improve it? And another question is a little bit general, so not very academically, because I'm a recent graduate from the UCL, Managing Archaeological Science, and I'm a little confused about how to start my early careers, searching for opportunities, advertisement time, yes. And I would like to ask you guys, like we see from a historical science and archaeology and about linguistic studies, you have different pathways, and you did a great work in your career, and you make this extraordinary presentation here. And I want to, if there could be advice how for a young person start a career, so like how find the very specific interest and yeah, kind of thing. Yeah, because I'm quite confused, and thank you very much.
I think learn some more languages. I mean, I haven't myself, but what I do is I work with eminent scholars, and that's been actually something that's motivated me and helped me. So I named some of those at the beginning of my talk. In terms of how can, I mean, there has been a wonderful work on the identification of the origins of the Tantsuknama in Japan mostly. So you need to look at Japanese scholarship for that. And this last image, I didn't really have much time to talk about it, but we can see that the images have been taken from Li Zhong's text, because they're in that order, exactly the same order, and they don't appear in... These are actually some of those, well, all of those things that Li Zhong produced there in 1260s, he had taken from elsewhere, obviously, but actually nowhere do they exist except in that order in Li Zhong's text. So we know that that's the origin. But there, was he looking at that image and had actually chosen not to use that image? Because he was executed for heresy. So he was in a very sensitive religious context working. And so actually to have an image where you've got all kinds of gods of uncertain origin to him living within the body was always going to be a problem for him. So I think, have I answered your question?
There's a question over here.
Professor Vivienne, I'm intrigued. In Dunhuang, they're very famous for the Medicine Buddha Sutra transformation art, which is more of the Vajrayana form of Medicine Buddha. Would you comment on, in your opinion, what percentage of the Medicine Buddha in Dunhuang is more of the Vajrayana origin versus the Mahayana origin? And also, would you comment on the Medicine Buddha Sutra transformation art pieces?
That I can't, because it's not my specialization. I've just picked up on Wang Jinyu's work there, but perhaps you can. Do you know anything about the difference between these Medicine Buddhas?
All right, the Vajrayana Medicine Buddha has a bigger family, and they have the 7 Medicine Buddhas, plus the Buddha himself, versus the Mahayana Medicine Buddha. It's one of the, usually you see him as one of the 3 Buddhas, Amitabha, Shakyamuni, and Medicine Buddha. So they are from a different lineage. So when I saw you wearing blue and bluish green, so I thought you were very connected with them.
Perhaps it's a natural affinity, but I don't know about that. Thank you very much. But no, I'm sorry, that's not, I'm much more an expert on the Moxibustion text. So this was kind of decorative in my
Okay, do we have any online questions? No? No. Anyone else in the room? Oh yes, up there there's a question.
So over here.
On the edge of the aisle. And is there someone over there as well? Did I see? Oh yeah. Next, okay.
Okay, I have a question about the medical topic. So basically, it's not really academic, but how did those people find the human resources to develop their research? For example, they use patients or volunteers or even slaves.
Was that you? Sorry, I was looking for... I can't see who's...
Over there is the question.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you for asking that question, because that's the bit that I didn't really get to. Actually, there is a historiographical issue that I think is at the core of my text, which I didn't really get to express. But that is, that anatomy has been so associated with cultures of modernity in Europe. So the dissection of bodies, dead bodies, has been associated with progress and modernity, but you can find it back in the Han Dynasty. And actually, it's nowhere in the world has dissection of the, or vivisection, or just cutting up the live body, been useful medically until pretty much the 19th and mostly the 20th century post-antibiotics. So what is the purpose of cutting up bodies? It's about knowledge development, really, and in China there is this extraordinary development of the use of anatomical figures for meditation and for inner alchemy and alchemical transformation. So it's there. What was it used for is the question, really. And certainly both East and West, the only times that anatomical drawings happened, or where they began, was in the execution of criminals. Mm-hmm. So to look inside the body, you needed to have somebody who was sort of subhuman in a way. And the only other times that you get it is at war. You know, if you're going to open up the abdomen, for example, of a live person, you would only do it at a war, or if you were saving a baby at the expense of its mother. So there's not other really contexts for vivisection. So yes, dead criminals is the answer. Thank you.
Thanks. So there's one last question over here, because we're already running into the coffee break. So quick one, please.
All right. I have one question for Professor Qi regarding her research methodology. So in your research, you employed a comparative study by comparing cave 464 of the Mogao caves to some other caves in Turfan, the Xiaoqing and Arjai caves in Inner Mongolia. So I have a question on the methodology here, because the Xiaoqing caves and the Arjai caves themselves have not been convincingly dated. We have like very limited textual evidence found in those two groups of caves, and we can only, based on like some analysis of the mural paintings styles, to indicate that they were probably belonging to the Tangut or Yuan or Uyghur periods, which is not clear enough. So I think a more reasonable sequence would be that we try to date cave 464 first, and then use that information to inspire our dating of the other groups instead of the reversed sequence. So I was quite curious about whether there are more deeper research in the paleography of the inscriptions, for example, and the textual documents found in cave 464, because they seem more promising and more like reliable evidence to me.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Very good and important question for the methodology about my research, because as I had presented in my research, I used lots of paintings to do the comparable things to judge the date of the paintings. Actually, it is not a how to say, very very good method to confirm the date about the paintings in our cave. But actually, in the meanwhile, I not only used used to compare the paintings with other contents in other places, but also use the inscriptions on in this cave. And I had mentioned that the archaeologist had found lots of documents from this cave, but because of those documents are movable. So we can't say that those documents were really from this cave or originally collected in this cave or stored in this cave or made in the same people, made with by the same people to do the documents and the paintings at the same time. But there are some link informations between the documents and the paintings and the inscriptions on the walls. So I emphasized the person named An Zhang. This translator, this Uyghur translator, was a very important person can prove that those documents found in this cave can be linked to the craftsmen or the donors to make the paintings of this cave. So I used this method to build a connection to the documents from this cave and the paintings in this cave to double proved the dating of the cave. So yeah, that's a good question. And also your question reminds us that when we do the research work, we can't do the comparable work just only through compare the paintings from different places and to give a conclusion about the connection between those places. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think we have to draw it to a close now because it's the coffee break and we mustn't take time away from the next session. But thank you to all the speakers. It's been a very interesting and diverse session. Thank you.